स्मरण करो हरि नाम रे। हरि ओम भज रे सदा। हरि ओम भज रे सदा। हरि गुण गाओ हरि नाम गाओ। हरि गुण गाओ हरि नाम गाओ। आनंद आनंद हरि नाम रे। आनंद हरि नाम रे। गुण गाओ हरि नाम गाओ। गुण गाओ हरि नाम गाओ। मन में जपन करो हरि नाम रे। स्मरण स्मरण करो हरि नाम रे। मन में जपन करो हरि नाम रे। करो हरि नाम रे। हरि ओम भज रे सदा। हरि ओम भज रे सदा। हरि गुण गाओ हरि नाम गाओ। हरि गुण गाओ हरि नाम गाओ। आनंद आनंद हरि नाम रे। आनंद आनंद हरि नाम रे। हरि गुण गाओ गाओ। हरि गुण गाओ हरि नाम गाओ। नंदन गज वदना गौरी नंदन गज वदना। गणेश वरदा मां पाहि। गणेश वरदा मां पाहि। गजमुख गणनाथा। गजमुख नाथा। गणेश वरदा मां पाहि। गणेश वरदा मां पाहि। गजानना 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 ओम गजवदना। गजानना ओम गजवदना। गौरी नंदन गजवदना। गौरी नंदन गजवदना। गणेश मां पाहि। गणेश वरदा मां पाहि। गजमुख नाथा। गजमुख नाथा। गणेश वरदा मां पाहि। गणेश वरदा मां पाहि। गजानना 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 ओम गजवदना। गजानना गजवदना। एकदंता गजानना। एकदंता गजानना। हेरंबा गजानना। हेरंबा गजानना। एकदंता गजानना। एकदंता गजानना। हेरंबा गजानना। हेरंबा गजानना। गजानना गजानना Gajanana, 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 Om Gajavadana, Gajanana, Om Gajavadana, Ekadanta Gajanana, Ekadanta Gajanana, Heramba Gajanana, Heramba Gajanana, Ekadanta Gajanana, Ekadanta Gajanana, Heramba Gajanana, Heramba Gajanana, 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 Om Gajavadana, Gajanana, Om Gajavadana, Gauri Nandana Gajavadana, Gauri Nandana Gajavadana, Ganesha Varada Mam Pahi, Varada Mam Pahi, Jamukha Gajamukha Gananatha, Gajamukha Gajamukha Gananatha, Ganesha Varada Mam Pahi, Ganesha Varada Mam Pahi, Gajanana, 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 Om Gajavadana, Om Gajavadana, Gauri Nandana Gajavadana, Gauri Nandana Gajavadana, Gauri Nandana Gajavadana. मुरे घन श्याम रे, हमरे घन श्याम रे घन श्याम रे, श्याम रे घन श्याम रे, गोविंदा गोपाला, श्याम मुरारी मुरानंद लाला, गोविंदा गोपाला, श्याम मुरारी मुरानंद लाला, श्याम रे श्याम रे, श्याम रे घन श्याम रे, श्याम रे श्याम रे घन श्याम रे, घना माधवा मीरा प्रीतम ब्रज बाला, मोहना माधवा मीरा प्रीतम ब्रज बाला, श्याम रे श्याम रे घन श्याम रे, श्याम रे घन श्याम रे, श्याम रे घन श्याम रे, घना नाभरा पांडव रक्षक परिपाला, नंदना नागरा पांडव रक्षक परिपाला, श्याम रे घन श्याम रे, घन श्याम रे, श्याम रे घन श्याम रे, श्याम रे रे घन श्याम रे, श्याम 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 रे घन श्याम रे। नमामि ॐ विनायकं समस्तलोकशङ्करं। नमामि ॐ विनायकं समस्तलोकशङ्करम्। अनाथदीनरक्षकम् आनन्दसद्गुणाकरम्। अनाथदीनरक्षकम् आनन्दसद्गुणाकरम्। गणेश्वरं गजेश्वरं सुरेश्वरं महेश्वरं। गणेश्वरं गजेश्वरं सुरेश्वरं महेश्वरं। नमामि ॐ विनायकं समस्त। नमामि ॐ विनायकं समस्तलोकशङ्करम्। योगिनां हृदन्तरे वसन्तभास्करं विभुम्। योगिनां हृदन्तरे वसन्तभास्करं विभुम्। मुदाकरं कृपाकरं सुधानन्दात्मरञ्जकम्। मुदाकरं कृपाकरं सुधानन्दात्मरञ्जकम्। गणेश्वरं गजेश्वरं सुरेश्वरं महेश्वरं। गणेश्वरं गजेश्वरं सुरेश्वरं महेश्वरं। नमामि ॐ विनायकं समस्तलोकशङ्करम्। नमामि ॐ विनायकं समस्तलोकशङ्करम्। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। Together we will chant the chapter 4 Bhagavad Gita verses 11 to 20, please. ये यथा मां प्रपद्यन्ते तांस्तथैव भजाम्यहम्। मम वर्त्मानुवर्तन्ते मनुष्याः पार्थ सर्वशः। काङ्क्षन्तः कर्मणां सिद्धिं यजन्त इह देवताः। क्षिप्रं हि मानुषे लोके सिद्धिर्भवति कर्मजा। चातुर्वर्ण्यं मया सृष्टं गुणकर्म विभागशः तस्य कर्तारमपि मां विद्यकर्तारमव्ययम् न मां कर्माणि लिम्पन्ति न मे कर्मफले स्पृहा इति मां योऽभिजानाति कर्मभिर्न स बध्यते एवं ज्ञात्वा कृतं कर्म पूर्वैरपि मुमुक्षुभिः कुरु कर्मैव तस्मात् त्वं पूर्वैः पूर्वतरं कृतं किं कर्म किमकर्मेति कवयोऽप्यत्र मोहितः तत्ते कर्म प्रवक्ष्यामि यज्ञात्वा मोक्ष्यसे शुभात् कर्मणो ह्यपि बोद्धव्यं च विकर्मणः अकर्मणश्च बोद्धव्यं गहना कर्मणो गतिः कर्मण्यकर्म यः पश्येद् अकर्मणि च कर्म यः स बुद्धिमान् मनुष्येषु स युक्तः कृत्स्नकर्मकृत् यस्य सर्वैर्भ्रमारम्भाः कामसङ्कल्पवर्जिताः ज्ञानाग्निदग्धकर्माणि तमाहुः पंडितं बुधाः त्यक्त्वा कर्मफलासङ्गं नित्यतृप्तो निराश्रयः कर्मण्यभिप्रवृत्तोऽपि नैव किञ्चित् करोति सः. We have covered the 13th verse in the previous class, which is talked about the caste system which is prevalent all over the world. He talks about the Lord Krishna is the responsible for creating of these castes, the four varnas, fourfold castes, and the caste is based on the gunas and karmas, means based on the division of labor and the qualities the mind is made up of. The human mind is made up of sattva, rajas and tamas, the A grade, B grade and C grade. A grade is the top quality, mediocre is the B, and C is the lowest. So this is the division. All the human beings, entire world, every human being is made up of these three qualities, and no human being is exempt from this any one of the quality. The proportion, the heterogeneous variety of these human beings accounts for this heterogeneous proportion of these gunas, the sattva, rajas, tamas, that determines the type of personality and the activity an individual takes it up. So there is no rigidity when it is division is made. It only helps the humanity to step up from tamas, lowest category of guna, to rajas, which is the mediocre, and rajas to sattva, which is the highest quality, and then go beyond, which is trans sattva, which is the state of enlightenment, which is the gunaatita, the perfect human being. The ultimate state of enlightenment is the way to go through this same process of this practice of getting rid of these gunas. So the pure consciousness, the God consciousness, is the primeval source of all activities. Every activity is springing from the Supreme God, the Atman. The Supreme Self alone enlivens, activates these gunas, these varieties of the gunas. It is a source of the gunas. Without the consciousness, these gunas and karmas, nothing can take place. Consciousness supports all these external activities. Every activity, whoever may be, wherever may be, acting because of the source of the Supreme God, the Atman, the Self. So it supports the internal thought forces and desires based on the vasanas, the tendencies, the propensities, which creates the gunas and karmas. So it is the thought temperament, the mental textures being the, so Krishna is the pure consciousness, the God consciousness within states that he is the author, he is responsible for the creation of these castes in the world. The whole world, entire people have divided based on the these gunas, qualities and the activities, which is well informed for only betterment of this human society. They are not rigid walls. The misunderstood people, they have thought that this is a rigidity by birthright. The gunas are not based on the birth, it is based on the qualities of vasanas and the karmas. That is the caste system. Is there is no rigidity in division. Such systems exist naturally everywhere all over the world, though perhaps not prescribed and practiced as in India, but it is there in everywhere. So the top class is the Brahmins class, where they took it up because of the high sattvic content. They took up the study, research, and propagation of scriptures and helped the people to gain the knowledge. And the second category is the when the sattva quality reduces, the activities that soldier, the kshatriya, the people who are warrior class, they took up the protection of the society. When the sattva further reduces and rajas and tamas starts increasing, then the Vaishya, which is the trader class, where you took up naturally the business class, and then ultimately the Shodra, which is the manual laborer. So they are not able to take up because of too much tamasic content in them and very less traces of sattva and almost less rajas. They were ordered to be taken up manual labor. So all these activities, no law prohibits them, anyone taking up the work they like. It is purely the choice of activity based on their mental texture and thought temperament, not based on the birthright. The caste system is defined, which is not actually practiced now. They have not understood. They took it up as a birthright, which is unfortunate. It is failed. The system is failed in the country. So, the pure consciousness is the source of all activities, all gunas, all karmas, all division of labor. Without the consciousness, nothing takes place. Consciousness supports external activities. It also supports internal thought temperaments, forces based on their vasanas, which creates the gunas and karmas. And Krishna, being the pure consciousness, states that he is the author of this caste in this world. That's what we covered in the last class. So one has to understand the ultimate goal of self-realization only by analyzing their gunas, and they have to take up this field of activity, which is swadharma, and then gradually change their qualities from the lower to higher, increase sattva, reduce tamas and rajas, ultimately you increase the sattva to 100% and zero tamas and rajas by efforts dedicated to the self-realization. Ultimately, the sattva alone remains, which is the 100%, which a person is not capable of keeping 100%. There cannot be one guna 100% alone. Therefore, the person, the seeker, catapults to the final state of meditation and enlightenment, which is the God realization, self-realization. That is called state of gunatita, beyond the gunas, a state which is pure consciousness, God consciousness. You reach by this gradual development, spiritual development. Now, we are going to study the mantra, verse number 14. Chanting. Namam karmani limpanti, name karma phale spruha, iti mam yo bhijanati, karma bhirna sabadhyate. We'll repeat the chanting. Namam karmani limpanti, name karma phale spruha, iti mam yo bhijanati, karma bhirna sabadhyate. Actions do not taint me. So the Lord Krishna represents me here, the pure consciousness, which is Krishna teaching to Arjuna that actions, so whatever activities executed, the actions do not taint me, means the self has no actions, nor have I. The Supreme Self says, I have a desire for the fruit of action. The self has no interest in the action, nor the desire, nor the fruit of action also. He who knows me means he who understands the Supreme Self. Thus, he is not bound by the actions. Such a person is not bound by the actions. So, what does this verse mean? So, you got to understand what is the actually this human being altogether. The entire human beings all made up of helplessly, they are made up of spirit and matter. Their actions all the time they are executing from the day they are born till the day they pass away, they are helplessly acting. So their actions are inevitable. The action is the insignia of life. The law of life proclaims that the none can remain inactive without acting, without performing activity. Nobody can stay inactive. The most inactive person also acting. Everyone is made helplessly to act according to their mental temperaments or innate nature. The very qualities they are made up of, they are helplessly made to act, functioning. Yet, if you choose to remain idle, if you choose to remain without action, you perish, you invite death, you destroy yourself. Nature draws this law of your attention to this law, inevitable activity. The observe a stagnant pond and a running brook, a river. A pond always water stagnates. It is turns dirty, filthy, not useful for human consumption. It's useless. Whereas a running water, a water which is always flowing, which is fresh, clear, pure, It is always useful for the human consumption, for drinking. Learn the lesson from nature. You must be active and dynamic. You have to succeed in life. If you want success, if you want progress, you must perform activities. There is no rest for human being. You must perform actions constantly. That is the law. Following the river, learn the lesson from nature. If you are to succeed in life, if you want to be prosperous, if you want to be peaceful, you must adopt the principle of running waters, principle of rivers, following their line of action. You can observe no river stops, it keeps moving, it keeps traveling, overcoming all obstructions and obstacles. It will never stop, ever progressing until it reaches the ultimate destination of the ocean. Till it merges with the ocean, the river never stops. This is the line of action it follows. We must adopt in our lives. So must you pursue. Every human being should not rest content until he must pursue the truth, until he reaches the truth. Path of action, activity must go on until he reach the abode of the truth, the enlightened state. The Bhagavad Gita is also highlighting the same thing. Karma, action, emphasize the importance of fulfilling one's obligatory duties and responsibilities in life. So, even the scriptures, the Shastras warns that to maintain the physical body, you must perform your actions, you must be active. If you are inactive, the body will perish. Any part of the body remains inactive, the body for a period of time it loses its strength and it loses its vitality. So your body needs to be kept in optimum condition because the body is that which executes activities. It must be kept in constant repair. You must exercise daily. You must exercise activities, physical fitness daily, not regularly, but every day. But people detest, people dislike any idea of physical fitness. Instead, they like to laze. They choose to indulge in sensual pleasures. They do not seem to realize that even enjoyment of sensual pleasures needs proper fit body, proper maintenance of the physical body. The neglect of physical exercises would prove detrimental to your material as well as spiritual well-being. Both it will be adversely affected if the body is not active, body is not dynamic. Your body should be act strong. That's what the Upanishad also says. May you live 100 years with dynamism. Bhadram karnebhi shruniyama devaah. Bhadram pashye maksha bhiryajatra. Sthirairangai stushtuvaagam sastanobhi. Vyashema devahitam yadai. Swasti na indro vruddhashrava. Swasti na pusha vishwaveda. Swasti nastarksho arishtanemi. So he says, you must live a dynamic life of a God-given life of 100 years with strength, not with wheelchair. This is the advice given by putting effort, by maintaining the body, by exercises. Hence, the first spiritual lesson the great Guru Mahatma Swami Vivekananda gave is go out and play football. Says when children went up to Vivekananda and asked, please teach us the God realization, enlightenment, go and play football. How can that playing football is relevant to the spiritual path and reaching goal? But Swami Vivekananda insisted the children approached because they need the physical fitness to get into any other pursuit of the goal you have set for yourself. So Vedanta constantly insists the knowledge, the Lord Krishna insisting is to work and work and work. Ceaseless work is your motto. Equally so, it glorifies the renunciation. It glorifies detachment. There is an apparent contradiction how an action and renunciation go together. How can they be together? This doubt goes when one understands the deeper import of the gospel of work. What is the true concept of work? In fact, real work is founded only on renunciation. You are able to execute, perform perfect work, perfect action only on renunciation. Renunciation of what? Renouncing the ego. I am the doer. Renouncing the kartrutva bhavana. I am the doer, which is work performed without egoistic feeling. Without the egoistic feeling. I am the doer. I am the sole architect of what I am doing. All that I do, real work is turned out when the body engages in, plunges into action, while the mind is constantly anchored to the Supreme Self within, the higher cause. The mind is attuned to the ideal, the higher ideal, the goal set for itself. So the true worker is one who pours out his all efforts. A true worker is one who pours out all efforts into the work for the higher cause beyond his selfish, self-centered interest, and does it with an egoistic arrogation of doership, that without the arrogation, without the ego and egocentric attitude, he performs work. This action without I am the doer attitude is worship. It is the true spirit of renunciation that is practiced, to be practiced. Such work, when you execute an action without ego and egocentric attachment or doership, then such a work commands success, such a work commands prosperity, such a work commands peace of mind, concurrently with peace of mind and bliss, both success and peace, both you can get only through this understanding. This is the idea one has to perform. This is what the Lord Krishna advising. You can practice this technique of action without ego, I am the doer attitude in your homes, in your businesses, in your society, everywhere the actions can go on, work and work and work without I am the doer attitude. I do everything. That attitude must be neglected, removed. So that idea of I am not the doer, I am not the performer, that ego must be curtailed by raising to the higher cause, a unselfish goal set for yourself. The highest goal can be thought of is the self. So therefore you can practice this technique in any place. There is no need to retire for jungles, for to the forest, for living a life of renunciation. The greatest ideal any human being can fix is the realization of the Supreme Self, the Atman, the Godhood within. Try to attune to the Self within, the Atman within. when your mind is absorbed, directed to the self within, and the body is engaged in activity, body is executing action with the mind anchored to the Supreme God, the Atman, such a work will eliminate the focus on the little self with ego. It will not be. So you automatically attribute everything to the Supreme Self. So body engaged in earnest work, you rise above that ego, rise above the personal identity, and you reach the supreme peace and bliss as well as the command success. So the idea of I and mine will disappear, the ego reduces gradually. You are the greatest worker when you are working in the manner that everything in terms of the handed over, that I am not the doer, execute your actions. When you consider you are not the worker, you become a mere instrument in the divine hands of the Lord, and you execute activities like a melodious songs the Lord Krishna gives out when he holds the flute. The flute represents the individual without ego and egocentric desires. He is executing actions, obligatory duties for the achievement of the Supreme Self. No ego, no I, no mine. This idea of working in a spirit of renunciation, renouncing the ego while performing the work, has confused many people because they don't understand the activities must be engaged, but giving up that ego, they reverse this process. They give up the action instead of giving up the ego because they don't have the knowledge, the technique, the know-how. Even today, this concept has been not understood properly, much less appreciated as a way of living. People either become attached, they don't act, they are inactive, lazy, always escape, procrastinate, postpone, tamasic attitude, or when they take up activity, they perform work with a lot of ego and lot of anxiety, lot of desire and possessiveness. And I am the doer, I am enjoyed. That is the rajasic tendency. The whole world knows only these two activities. Actions inactive or active with worries and anxieties attached and entangled in their work and suffer and cowardly escape from it. You must realize that actions are a must. No human being, including the Supreme Self, the Lord Krishna himself, when he is performing in the battlefield, he is still working, even though he is reached the state of enlightenment. His body is engaged in constant action. You can see action is inevitable. You can't remain inactive. Inaction courts death. It invites death. So you should be dynamic. You should be active all the time. You cannot avoid obligatory functions in life. You must perform your duties and responsibility. The activities must go on. In the epic Mahabharata, a great battle fought between the two royal families. The royal force, Arjuna was the prince leading one armies and aimed at destroying the unrighteous elements in the resurrecting the righteousness in the country. The stage was set and the battle to commence. At that crucial moment, the Arjuna faced the same problem. He wanted to withdraw from the battlefield. He decided to fight and put up the righteousness where the unrighteousness prevails. Anarchy in the country. The warrior declined to fight. He shrank. He is paralyzed. His knees are knocking. His head is spinning. He laid down the bow and arrow and he declared he can't fight. He shrank to the obligatory duty. He appealed to Lord Krishna. He surrendered to Lord Krishna and asked if he could leave the battlefront. It was then the Lord gave the Arjuna the great sermon, the great knowledge, that the principle of renunciation is taught by the Krishna. He advised Arjuna, renounce not the action, but renounce the egoistic feeling. I am the doer. He advised Arjuna to renounce the I am the doer attitude. Change the mental attitude from I am the doer to the self, the Atman is functioning through this body, mind, intellect, and functioning. He advised Arjuna to drop that egoistic feeling and fight the battlefield impersonally. Fight for the unselfish cause. You have to work for the welfare of the people to reach the ultimate state of enlightenment. That is the higher goals you got to fix till you reach the enlightenment. So, Gita pressed home the role of action in spiritual path. The actions are a must. You got to perform action. So, Bhagavad Gita is the same thing, is telling the action, role of action in spiritual path. But the Indians consider it, the Bhagavad Gita, as a text of more for the retired people. Bhagavad Gita is meant for the post-retirement pastime people and old. Ironically, the Bhagavad Gita is and its subtle principles of action are practiced and learned and practiced beyond the boundaries of India, beyond the shores of India. In most Western countries, people have kept the nation as the altar. They work for the welfare of the nation. So, in most Western countries, their nation comes first above their little individualities, little selves, their personal interests, and dedicated work to the nation's prosperity and welfare is their ultimate cause in the Western countries. Therefore, they are progressing and prosperous compared to India. This is the logic and reason. Consequently, they become progressive, productive, and prosperous. But whereas India remains even now very underdeveloped as far as the statistics are concerned, because of the lack of dynamism, lack of action, lack of production. So the human beings must keep pace with the march of the time. You have to respect the struggle for existence to survive. Mere acquisition of information without translating into action would not sufficient. The theory must be executed into practice. Knowledge comes from the past. It should be translated into action. Currently, thoughts and ideas must be transformed into deeds. Your motto in life, everybody's motto in life must be to strive, to struggle, not to succeed. Means never bothered about success. Actions and action. Because the action, the moment you execute, it brings about success automatically. Work well performed is the joy in life. Work well performed is the peace in life, joy in life. Success or failure is immaterial, because action itself brings about the happiness. What really matters in life is your ability to convert every action into an obligatory duty and responsibility. Means the obligation means the executing of that action for the cause by the strong intellect, not merely following personal likes and dislikes and selfish ego and egocentric desires. The moment you perform actions dedicated to the welfare of the higher cause of the people at large, the family at large, for the community at large, for the achievement of the enlightenment, then the actions become powerful and peaceful. You command success and you command prosperity. The actions automatically give you joy in life. The ability to adopt action to obligation is the capacity of the intellect one has to develop. Your business lies in action alone, not in the result, not in the fruit of action, not in the success or failure is immaterial, because action itself is gives you joy, peace and happiness. So the fruit doesn't disturb you. Let not the anxiety for the fruit of action while performing action should not disturb your mind. Your mind must be in the present, not to be shifted to the past or the future. So the reward, the result is not your concern. Your business lies in action alone. Let not the anxiety for enjoying the fruit of action disturb your executing the course of action in the present. Just be in the action, be in the struggle. That becomes your bounden duty and obligation. Work only for the work's sake, action only for the action's sake, not to bother about what comes out of the action. Learn to be indifferent to the pleasure or joy, pain, sorrow, happiness, honor and dishonor coming from that action is none of your concern. That is, may accrue, may come out of the action is none of your concern. Your life is enriched, your life is fulfilled by the accomplishment of the perfect action in the present. When you execute a perfect activity, a perfect duty, a perfect obligation, that is the be all and end all of life. Your life is enriched by the accomplishment of right action rather than the outward reward, outward awards, the honor and dishonor, outward success or failures. It doesn't matter. When a cricketer playing the game for the country, every ball he enjoys the game, every batting batsman, if he faces the bat with the ball, enjoys the ball and batting and fielding, he enjoys the part of the team. The success and failure is automatic when he performs his activities to the fullest his capacity. Success automatic. There is no need to worry and anxiety for the success and failure from for the action, because action is a must. So work then becomes a worship. So take up your work with no axe to grind. There is no personal interest. There is no selfish ego and egocentric desire propels the action. The action must be dedicated to the cause. The country should win. So the batsman goes to the bat. It is not he is going, it is the India playing. The focus should be on India, the welfare of the country's success or failure. Country must be the idea. Team must win. Country must win, not the personal interest. Then the action has the power. Action has the caliber, and the mind is peaceful. Do what you ought to do in life. What you're supposed to do in life, you must execute. Go about it with an independent spirit. Work then becomes a prayer, a pleasure or happiness only in the action, not in the result. So the pleasure or joy is in the activity. The happiness, the health, the wealth, the prosperity, the peace of mind, everything in the action and action alone. People do not realize this beauty and grandeur of the real work. They always entertain the worldly motives, the personal interests, the egoistic weaknesses for the work. They develop egocentric desires and become